welcome back, or welcome to it. In this video, we'll be taking a look at some CWO Week 10 action. We'll actually be taking a look at my Town Hall 10 and Town Hall 11 fails. Not my Town Hall 11 fail that ended up having to be dipped, of course, not going to burn that base, but the one that was cleaned up successfully on the next go. So as well as we're going to cover my 12v12 in this video, as well as I'd rather not have to make a whole nother separate video just for one base. So this is probably going to take about the same amount of time as the last video, as even though it's 3 bases instead of 5, I'm going to break down my initial thoughts on the bases, show my attack, and then actually go back and break down the adjustments from both Slick for the 10v10 and Mok for the 11v11. So let's take a look at the first one here for the Town Hall 10, as I'm going in with a drag zap attack, but as you'll notice I have 2 healers, as I plan on using my queen up here, and the hope is she will grab this area as well as pick off the Inferno Tower, this air defense, and this air defense. I do anticipate using 1 rage on her. I know it's only 2 healers. Even if I had 4, I might still have to use a rage, depending on Teslas or anything like that. I do decide, though, that I'm just going to use the 2 just because I really need the troop space for my dragons for the most part, is the biggest reason why I choose just to use the 2 healers. So I do zap this air defense, as what I'm seeing is it's a decently spread out base, maybe a little bit compact for drag zap, as I usually like hitting a little bit more spread out bases with it. Drags take less damage as they move along fairly slowly. So as you'd probably expect, I'm going to use my king to funnel out this way nice and early. And I am going to have my slammer in with my drags, just kind of wherever, probably somewhere right around here. Just going to kind of be in there with them. Nothing real direct, since I'm not going to have an Inferno Tower to take out. So probably coming in at that air defense. So I do have 3 rages for my drags. Want to pick up this with my queen. And it is fresh, so I do have the poison. So as well as a haste for the loons when they do come out of the stone slammer. So I do have the hound and just a few loons of my own. For the most part, I usually go a little heavier on drags compared to loons for this, especially because I usually have a hound out in front. So that's the thought process going in here. Queen taking that out, king taking this, and really creating a really nice narrow pathway for the drags for the most part. But of course, this is breaking down a fail, so let's go to the base and the attack and see what went wrong in this attack. Here we are, as I'm going to start this attack with the queen and the king going down nice and early. King's down at 6 and queen is down at 10 o'clock. So this starts out just as expected. Queen just clearing through some trash. Those 2 healers making so the arch towers and doing too much work on her. Do drop that loon just in case I am going to soak up a black mine there, as losing 1 healer would be really detrimental for this. As you're going to see, though, I lose them both. So what ends up happening is, just in range, apparently just in range of the air defense there, my healers get targeted, and my queen is on the Inferno Tower, and I could probably save 1 healer, but unfortunately my queen gets caught on a skelly trap. I do pop my king as I start my slammer, hound, and drags, of course, going in. So I do get a split clan castle as well with my king going in so early. And I put the poison in there the best I can. It does get the witch and the baby drag, but I have a ton of archers out there refusing to go down. I do get the zap down. My queen is still up, believe it or not, as she did not get this air defense at about 10:30, and she ends up going down here in just a sec, as at this point it's still pretty close and I still feel alright about my chances. I just need to get that air defense down to give my drags a shot, and as you're going to see, the loons go over to the sweeper instead. So hard break there. It looks like about half a tile, unfortunately. I was pretty upset in the moment. As you can see, I dropped my haste anticipating the loons going to the air defense, and at this point I just have the 1 minion left. I do catch back-to-back black mines as well, and at this point it's just my drag's just kind of going around the edge for cleanup, as I did not get the funnel I needed from my queen, and my king caused a pretty bad split clan castle for me. Maybe that wasn't completely detrimental, but it certainly was a negative, as this is just going to end up petering out here with that last air defense refusing to let me finish this off. So we are going to go and take a look at Slick's adjustments here, as this wraps up at an 88% 2-star. So let's switch over to the adjustments. Here we are. As you can see, Slick didn't adjust too much here in terms of troop comp, but he definitely made some crucial adjustments on how he placed his troops. So as we found out in the attack, as mine was fresh, that there is a Tesla farm right over there. And as we found out in an attack in between mine and Slick's, that even if you get the queen to path this way, she will actually stop short and start beating on a wall, which is awful. And I don't know if they tested that on base design, but it is a gorgeous thing to absolutely mess up a queen walk. So that will for sure leave up that air defense. So Slick ends up deciding that he still wants his queen coming in to pick up the Inferno Tower, the air defense, and round the corner to pick up that Tesla farm. So still ends up getting good value. I believe he does use one rage for his queen still, and he still has just the 2 healers for her. As he is going to place his drags much higher up. As queen does this, he's going to place his most of his drags right in here, as mine were pretty spread out. And the next big crucial part of this attack that he does have going differently, of course, is he doesn't want the clan castle being drawn out by the king, so he's going to start his king much later to not only not draw out the clan castle, but of course it's also going to get very nice mutual tanking and allow his poison to be used far more effectively than mine was. So let's take a look at how that turned out for Slick, as the rest of it's pretty much the same. Drag's a bit higher. I believe he does the slammer a little bit lower as well. And queen does about the same, and king obviously moving along the same speed as the dragons instead of way ahead like mine was. So let's take a look at that. Alright, here we go with Slick's cleanup attempt here, as he's going to get it started in just a moment with the queen, of course. So going to drop her up top here. There's a troll at 9 o'clock, so he does use a loon to pick that up, as well as a minion to help some cleanup early on the town hall area. So starts his queen a little bit higher up than mine to try maybe see if he can get it to path up still, as that would still probably be more beneficial than even the Tesla farm. But not a big deal. She steps in. She's going to pick off these few buildings here as she's moving along nice and slow. And she's going to step up and pick up that Inferno Tower and the Skellies and move on, of course, to the air defense here. So gets through those Skellies. She is quite low. He actually, instead of using rage, just pops her ability there. Knows just kind of needs to get through these few Teslas, and that's pretty much all the value needed. Has started his king down at 6. Starts the most of the drags up there at about 8. Stone Slammer coming in right behind him. One drag at about 7 to help funnel out those trash buildings, as he's going to drop his first rage here as Clan Castle comes out. And he's going to get the poison down on it here after the witches come out. So has everything going in. His queen is also still up, rounding the edge at the moment. And he's going to drop his second rage here in just a second as well. Really pound through those storages and everything else. Really wants to keep everything going as quickly as possible. His slammer is about to pop. His drags do path upward, which was also a fortunate turn for him to make sure he gets that air defense. And really just with how well the funneling went down at about 4:30 to 5, it was inevitable his drags would path upward a lot easier than any of my troops would. So that went really well. Slammer finally pops, does use the haste, and his queen with that beautiful 2-healer walk just gets tons of value going through the base, and finishes this one off here with plenty of time to spare, I do believe. So really nice cleanup there from Slick. Really nice adjustments just in terms of knowing that the troops and the spells didn't need a big adjustment. It was more just the execution. Alright, so we're going to take a look at number 6 next, and take a look at my plan and attack, and then take a look at the cleanup. Here we are. As you can see, I have a drag bat prepared, with the thought process being here that I could kind of segment the base, as I can use, how do I do this? Oh, I use a E-drag up here, and I use my heroes down here. As with my heroes, really their primary goal being to pick up this wizard tower and clear out this whole area for a funnel. This sea drag gets about here, and it creates a good path for the dragons. As I think even on my fails you get a pretty good idea about the plan of the attacks and what I'm really thinking and trying to accomplish with them. I am aware I'm taking on 2 air defenses early, as I do have my Warden though, and of course that Rage will allow my drags to get plenty done in there. So I do plan on, just erasing a little bit here, using my bats right here on this Inferno Tower. These are both ground expos, so really it's just HP to chew through before they're moving on, as I will have an Ice Golem right over here to tank this Wizard Tower. So this was not fresh. The previous attack was a P.E.K.K.A. Bobat, so this is quite different. I do know I'm fighting the Sweeper, but I believe my bats should be able to pick up that Sweeper, as well as move into here. I do have 2 freezes, one for the Inferno Tower, and then the second probably for this Wizard Tower over here. And assuming it's a good pathway, my drag should rip through the core of this base. My bats should go down pretty early and take out this area, move on this area, and hopefully with my last freeze be able to get to that area right there. So let's take a look at this and see what went wrong, and then take a look at the adjustments. Here we go, as I'm going to start my E-drag and my heroes nice and early here. Do let my E-drag get a couple shots off first. Does have to take out a couple buildings individually before it's going to start getting good chain value. Have my heroes down pretty quickly there at about 5. I do believe I probably dropped my queen just a bit too low there to pick up the wizard tower, as my king does path up. Not a big deal. Really thought with the ability my queen would pick up the wizard tower, but she ends up pathing down a little bit, picking up a couple more buildings, which is still good value, but I really wanted the wizard tower down, so I only needed 1 freeze for my bats. So do get a good spread, and on my drop here, some ground skellies are actually going to take out my little archer up top, and gonna pop the warden here in just a few seconds, I believe, as the eagle comes down again. I start my bats here, get the rage, get the freeze, get the bats going. As my drags are already a bit ahead, I have the warden ability activated for my dragons and my loons. Unfortunately, my drag set off the tornado trap, and it kills off a ton of my bats and just outright holds them up as well. And that's very unfortunate. I do get the ice golem down in time. I just don't have enough bats left, as the eagle ends up frying a bunch more too, as my bats were next to the drags. So I do get a pretty favorable split on my drags, but I end up not quite getting to that 12 o'clock AD, I believe, as I still have about 6 drags at really high health, but they're just going to get picked off chewing through these outside buildings, as well, of course, with any air defense that's left unchecked is really going to do some work on any air attack. So just going to speed through this. Really, that air defense picks things off, as well as just this Tesla and Arch Tower able to finish off these couple drags over here at about 2:30. So obviously the biggest issues there was the tornado trap and just not getting down the drag bat, or the bat portion, in time. But we're going to take a look at the adjustments, which it's mostly what I thought of, but luckily Mok had the courage to go through with it, as he didn't feel great about the plan initially, but I was able to lay it out, and then he saw what I was seeing, and he was able to have an excellent attack. So let's take a look at the adjustments here. Alright, so the adjustments we came up with was still using the ice golem over here for this wizard tower. Still have relatively the same funnel with the heroes over here and the E-Drag over here. I believe he does place his E-Drag a little bit differently for different total value. So the funneling was still good and the pathway for the drags was still good. But what he did is he took out a haste and one of the freezes for a second rage for his he went really heavy on bats and he used the rage instead of using it here. He used it for his drags as they were going through the core of the base. So what we're going to do, because the drags got into here pretty easily, is Mok, instead of using the bats there, is just going to do a bat wave from over here, which was his idea. My thought was the bat bomb. Bat wave ends up turning out perfectly, as it's going to come through here for this wizard tower with the ice golem on it, and he has two freezes to help take care of this back end area. So he is going to need to wait until the drags get into here, but that's not going to be a big deal, especially since he's going to have a second rage and the drags got into that area pretty easily in the first attack. So that's the major adjustments. You get more with your kill squad with the rage spell, and just not having your bats try to get through all this, just being able to wave in through this whole back end area here. So let's take a look and see how this attack turned out. Here we go. As you can see, this does end up being quite close on time, and it ends up being even closer on troops. So gets his E-Drag down nice and early, starts the heroes. Does start Queen a little bit higher than mine. I think he ends up getting just about the same value though, as E-Drag's doing his work at 9, pops the king. Queen continues doing her thing, and he's going to start the drags pretty early as well, with the warden in right behind him. So Queen gets plenty of good value there, pretty much identical value there. And E-Drag moves in, is going to get taken out pretty early there. Does pick up that arch tower though, which was really solid. And drops the loons in front. I believe he did go heavier on the loons than I did as well. So gets his drags, really nice spread there, has a really nice funnel as well. So everything's going to go in nice and easy. Gets the rage down right in the middle there. Has quite a few drags go down to the bottom and not really get under that rage, but also has quite a few that do. So gets that warden ability off and gets good value out of that. Has everything living through the initial part of that attack really well. Gets that next rage down and is really able just to blow through the core of this base really easily. And that was really impressive. Sets off the tornado trap as he expected. And if you take a look, he's already got the core carved out of this base with a couple drags down here and drags and slammer up there on the eagle. So he's off to a really good start, drops the ice golem and starts his bat wave over here. So bats go in, ice golem goes off just beautifully. Bats continue to get solid value. They're able to get that air defense down and continue on to the base. Does get a split and does burn that freeze spell probably a bit early. Still has a second one though, so he's able to get it down right here. Really well timed as he's able to get this air defense down, which could have thwarted the attack, but perfect timing on the freeze spell is going to push this one through. So he does have 4 dragons and a loon up, but this ends up petering out pretty hard as most of his drags are pretty low in health, unfortunately. So I am going to times 2 this just to speed through it, not make this video too long here. But he does end up losing another dragon, and he's going to end up losing this other dragon to the Tesla as well. And it's just going to finish out here with the one dragon being able to pull through and take out these last couple buildings with just a smidge of health. Does still have the warden, but time was pretty close, but it ends up being extremely clutch and a really nice 11v11 right when we needed one. Alright, so we're going to take a look at our last plan and attack, which was a 12v12. Alright, here we are, as this was very late in war and just after I had dip failed, and really it put us in a position where we had to pull out 2 12v12s, which is a tall task, especially when you only have 2 attempts at it, after I came up short on that dip. So confidence was not feeling particularly high after that, but I was able to come up with a plan I felt really good about going into it. This was the base I picked from the start of the war for 12v12. I really just kind of liked how I had two Infernos together and could get probably good value there, and this Inferno over by itself without the traditional spread that Infernos have on 12 Town Hall 12s, which are usually like here, here, here with the Town Hall elsewhere. Oop, that is my night vision coming on. So I liked that it wasn't like that. It was a little bit more lopsided. So my initial plan was actually going to be to come through here and jump into the back end here. But we did get a 11v12 on it for 2 stars a little bit earlier in war. So I knew I had a very heavy Tesla farm back here. And this attack coming from this direction, as you can see, I do have a P.E.K.K.A Smash, and that was going to be the plan from either direction. The thought being just that it's safe, I'm going to get the Town Hall, and I might be able to pull through this back end couple Infernos. So once we knew we absolutely needed a 12v12 to stand any chance left, I decided to come straight in from the farther side, take on these two Infernos early, and we of course on the scout discovered the heavy Tesla farm in there. So what was suggested to me after originally I was looking at the wall wrecker, Mok said that I'm probably not going to get through the back end area without a slammer, even if my kill squad does do really well. So I agreed there. He had a great point. So I do switch this wall wrecker here to a slammer before I attack. And I'm going to bring in the slammer and 4 loons from here to get this area. I do have the haste. No poison spell, as I don't typically do that on 12v12 unless it's a small CC. Most of the time you run into a hound baby drag though, which is also the case for this base. So I do have the haste for the CC loons. So I do have 2 jumps, so I'm just going to jump right in here and right in here. So I do have the Warden's ability for the clan castle, and I'm hoping I don't have to deal with the Giga Bomb at any point. I shouldn't be able to access it unless my king breaks through a wall or something like that. So I do have the 2 jumps, 3 rages, and 1 heal. I really like taking a heal with really, really heavy kill squad hits that have healers outside of P.E.K.K.A Bobat. At least P.E.K.K.A Bobat for Town Hall 11. Just because a lot of times you'll lose your healers, or especially at Town Hall 12, the Town Hall will be doing such a number the healers can't keep up, and that heal spell really helps keep things alive. So I really like the P.E.K.K.A Smash here just because of the value, what is going on here? The value I'd be able to get with the 2 jump spells going into it, as well as, even though these are very deep, I know I'm getting a lot out of the way in terms of storages, the Inferno Towers, and Teslas very early. So it's a trade-off, but it ends up working out just fine, of course, as I'm showing you this attack. So I have the 2 jumps. Really like that. I like that the funnels are actually very straightforward. I'm just going to use a P.E.K.K.A on each end with a couple wizards behind each. So it's going to be very straightforward, and then I'm going to be able to have the 3 P.E.K.K.As, 9 bowlers, and my heroes just go right into the core of this base. So really like the funnels were straightforward, like that I should just be able to go through this pretty well. Obviously it's almost never easy on 12v12. One more thing of note is that there's only 1 air defense in this area, so the other 3 are here, here, and here. So that way I'm thinking my healers should be plenty healthy as my kill squad hopefully gets through this base. So that's the plan. It's pretty basic for the most part. It's pretty basic P.E.K.K.A Smash, but I feel really good about it for as good as I can after a dip fail. And I feel really good about the entry. It's going to be really hard to have things walk here just because the funnel is pretty easy, as well as just the very wide jump into the base. So, and the pathing through the base as well should be pretty easy with how it's opened up with the jumps, as well as not leading directly into the Town Hall compartment. So let's switch over and take a look at how this one went. Alright, going to start this one with my funnels up at 12 and 3 o'clock. Just a P.E.K.K.A each with a couple wizards behind. I'm going to be a little short on cleanup with just 2 wizards, but I was really kind of playing it close to the edge anyway, just in terms of troop space for everything. So get the funnels going, nice and easy there. Get the P.E.K.K.A.s down, gonna get the healers down, and the jump, and my heroes, of course. So bowler's coming in after just a sec. Didn't really want him to walk, wanted to let the funnel get a little bit set. So get that rage down, get the warden ability off nice and early, which is going to help my entire kill squad, of course. I did forget that I have to deal with the clan castle, so I'm just really hoping at this point that I'm going to be able to push through it. Have my second rage down as my kill squad is just getting really good value going through this base. And my queen, of course, is chasing down that hound and baby drag. My king does end up going to the outside. I pop him. Start my slammer over there at 7:30 with the 4 loons in front. Really didn't want that air defense to blow through my slammer super quickly. So slammer's still up. My queen is still picking off lava pups. I do drop a wizard to try and help take those out. And I pop my queen just to keep her alive, as well as get those final hits off on the town hall. So get the haste down after my slammer pops at 6 o'clock and get really good value on that haste. Had a few defenses that were coincidentally in about the same spot. My queen does end up just shooting a bunch of different walls here for the most part, but I do have a P.E.K.K.A. and 2 P.E.K.K.As and my king up. So a lot of this at this point is just cleanup, so I am going to wait till my king and P.E.K.K.As get out in front to drop my last wizard, as my queen continues beating through walls here as much as she can. She does pick off this wizard tower though, which is very helpful, of course, and takes out those air skellies. As this is just wrapping up, as you can see, I got very low P.E.K.K.A, low king, low queen, and decent P.E.K.K.A in there as well. So really glad I was able to get that 12v12 for one of the weirdest wars of the year, not just for us, but for myself individually, of course, with a great war at Town Hall 10, my first war of the year going 0 at Town Hall 11, and then just to cap it off, my first dip fail all year, and then a 12v12 somehow right after that. So that does leave me 1% short of being, I believe, 4 for 4 on 12v12s this year, but it is what it is. I much rather would have had the dip successful, of course, to put us in a lot better position. Wouldn't have ended up mattering, though, since they did end up getting 89 stars. So shout out to 50 Spartans, and of course, shout out for Slick and Mok for the cleanups on these attacks, as they were perfect. They might have been a bit close, but both the cleanups were really well executed, well adjusted, and showed 2 different kinds of adjustments, with one being execution for the most part, and the other being a change in a big chunk of the plan, or at least a big aspect of the plan with how you're going to do the bats. So shout out to both of them for that, and shout out, of course, to KT for giving it their all this war, even though they did come up just a little bit short. And got one more week for CWO before we do hit the off season, so I will be back next week to recap those. So thank you for watching, of course, and I'll catch you next time.